ending up with being a candidate for the European Parliament in 1992. And I was so lucky that I got 1,217 votes.
Imao sam toliko sreće da sam dobio 1017 glasova.
And it was a little bit more than my family.
To je bilo malo više nego što sam dobio svoje
porodice. So I was not elected.
Tako da nisam bio izabran.
But it was a very good experience.
Ali bilo je dobro iskustvo.
With support from the trade unions.
I to je bilo uz podršku sindikata.
I have also been involved in education management in the Ministry of Education for 6 years in Denmark.
U menadžment obrazovanjem u Danskoj 6 godina.
Especially I have been very much involved in the changes based on what you have been talking about here per capita finance.
I bio sam posebno uključen i u to o čemu ste vi ovdje govorili, u per capita finansiranju.
And as I know that you have been talking about it, I would like to share some experiences from that, and I will come back to my work here in Serbia.
Pošto znam da ste govorili o tome, želeo bih nešto da kažem i ja o tome, a vratit ću se onda na svoj rad u Srbiji.
Because actually in the process of establishing the per capita financing in Denmark started
uspostavljanje per capita finansiranja u Danskoj
back in 1975. And I remember very well that we had as teachers, we were against it.
Da smo mi kao nastavnici bili protiv toga.
Because we didn't know, first of all, we were not involved in the process.
Pre svega nisu nas uključili u
proces. It was a
proces.
political decision
To je bila politička odluka
establish it.
Da se to uspostavi.
And the parents actually prepared to strike.
I roditelji su bili spremni da štrajkuju protiv toga.
And of course, it influenced. I was working in a very small village at that time.
Ja sam tada radio u veoma malom selu.
And the discussions there among parents started to be based on this process of establishing a system influencing the school, so that where they didn't know about it.
Zasnovani na tome da niko nije znao kako se ovaj proces uspostavlja.
And it took actually up till, I would say, 10 to 15 years to establish a good system of per capita financing.
10 ili 15 godina da se uspostavi dobar sistem per capita finansiranja.
Because the government, and I will not say the government, because it was the Ministry of Education who had to implement it.
Je imalo zadatak da ovo sprovede.
Because the government made the umbrella law for it.
Vlada je napravila krovni zakon za to.
But then it was the ministry who started to implement it.
Ali onda ministarstvo je bilo to koje je to sprovodilo.
During the first 4 or 5 years, a good relation was established with the trade unions, the teachers' trade unions.
Su dobri odnosi sa sindikatima nastavnika.
And let me put it like that, the cooperation not only at the overall political level seemed to develop quite well. But also at the local level, the trade unions were involved in explaining what it was about.
Sindikati su bili dosta uključeni u objašnjavanje
toga. All agreements regarding what should happen and how to handle the process of how it influences teachers
šta se radi i kako treba da se radi sa nastavnicima.
Was fully agreed with the trade unions.
O svemu tome su stvari dogovorene sa
nastavnicima. I use plural here, but it is actually only one union.
Koristim množinu, ali u stvari je bio samo jedan sindikat koji je pokrivao manje više sve nastavnike.
But of course they are related to the Confederation of Trade Unions.
Ali naravno oni su u stvari zajednice sindikata.
I can tell you at that time I was a school principal.
U to vreme sam bio direktor škole.
I had the pleasure to start to discuss this with the teachers at the school level.
Da razgovaramo o ovome sa nastavnicima na nivou škole.
And every year in January, February, we got the calculation about how many teachers we could have at my school.
Dobijali smo proračun koliko nastavnika možemo da imamo u školi.
And then I could start to count
I onda sam ja mogla da počnem da brojim.
Peter, you need to do something here because you do not have resources.
Peter, moraš da uradiš nešto jer nemaš resurse za pola nastavnika ili jednog nastavnika.
Later on, sometimes I had the obligation to get rid of up to 4 or 5 teachers
4 ili 5 nastavnika u jednoj godini u mojoj školi.
It is not pleasant.
To nije prijetno.
Especially not if you do not have the regulations in place how to
Posebno
do it.
ne ako nemate već neke ustanovljene procedure kako da uradite.
I will explain you a couple of situations which I am quite sure that you are familiar with and you are sitting with as a
Navešću neke situacije sa kojima sam siguran da ste i vi upoznati.
Especially the situation where you are going to
posebno situaciju kada treba da smanjite broj nastavnika za 5 u jednoj školi.
Then you need to have in place regulations on how to do that.
Onda vam trebaju neka pravila o tome kako to da uradite.
I do not like you.
Jer možda mi se vi ne sviđate.
Then I have a good chance to get
onda imam priliku da vas rešim.
Maybe the best teacher.
Možda ste vi najbolji nastavnik.
But I don't like you.
Ali ne sviđate mi se.
It could also be another thing. You are probably the most well paid.
Ili možda je drugo, vi ste možda najbolje plaćeni.
So I need to save some money.
Moram da sačuvam neki novac. Tako da vi.
This was one of the big problems for us.
To je bio veliki problem za nas.
There was a regulation the trade unions made with the government. Yes, it was actually an agreement with the government.
Ali je sindikat napravio neku vrstu dogovora sa vladom.
At that time it was the last person employed.
To vreme je osoba koja je poslednja zaposlena treba da ode.
You know probably that.
Verovatno ste čuli za tu mogućnost.
So the problem occurred during the next years.
Ali problem se javljao i tokom narednih godina.
That we got a problem out of that.
Da smo imali problem s tim.
Because we were so lucky from time to time to get a very good teacher.
Jer smo povremeno imali sreće da dobijemo odličnog nastavnika.
And when I send you away because you were not so, no, if I let you stay and I send you away because you were young, then I had a problem with the parents.
A pošaljem, izbacim nastavnika koji je
They
dobar.
started to say, why are you sending a good teacher away?
Zašto izbacujete dobrog nastavnika? Potreban nam je ili potrebna nam je.
So, over a period of time, the trade unions negotiated with the government on how that there could be a mechanism additional in these considerations.
Da se uspostave dodatni mehanizmi za ovakva razmatranja.
It was a very, very, very difficult issue for the trade unions in Denmark.
Ali to je bilo veoma teško pitanje za sindikat.
Because as soon as you open up for something else, you open up for personal feelings from the person who is going to take this decision.
Mogućnost pitanja ličnih osjećanja osobe koja mora da donese ovakvu odluku.
Because this is about who is a good teacher.
Jer je to pitanje ko je dobar nastavnik. To je teško pitanje, mi to znamo.
Because often it depends on what parents you have.
To je često zavisi od toga šta roditelji misle i kakve učenike imate, šta oni misle.
Ne mogu pitati.
Što ste kažete kasnije?
Koji je bio kriterijum i zašto si nikad učestvovao u tome? Otpuštanje.
No, the trade unions did not participate in
Sindikati nisu učestvovali u otpuštanju.
But they were very much involved in discussing the regulations on how to do it and how to handle it.
Toga kako to da se uradi?
For many years we had a problem. I had a problem with my colleagues as a school principal.
Kao direktor i moje kolege, direktori su imali
Because we wanted to get rid of this last in, first out.
Jer smo želeli da se rešimo ove politike, da se izbacuje taj koji je posljednji došao.
But we couldn't, or the government or the Minister of Education didn't want to get agreement with the trade unions about that.
Od nekoj drugoj stvari.
And I fully understand them.
I ja ih razumem.
Because it opens up for nepotism and for personal feelings when it comes to releasing teachers. Another thing was that in this, I can try to explain it from another side, from another angle. We live in a community in a region where there were 7-8 schools. And it could very well be that in this region we maybe did not need to release teachers. In the neighboring school maybe they needed teachers. And one of the criteria here for releasing a teacher from my school, for example, was that I should try to see if this teacher could go to one of the other schools in my region. This was agreed as a procedure between the trade union and the government. That this was what should happen, and that we needed those we release from our schools should have the right to come to one of the other schools. But then we had another problem here. Because the teachers, they didn't like to be changed from one school to another. And I am quite sure you are also familiar with that debate. Because we are used to, as teachers, that we are at our school and we stay there as long as we can and want. We have an ownership, at least it was some years ago in Denmark, it is not the same now. That we have some ownership to the school, it's my school. And especially old teachers, elder teachers, they had an ownership, they had been there for 15, 20 years. Can you imagine a school principal coming to you and saying, you have to go to the other school? Impossible. Almost. So we were through a long process of changes. I am quite sure that it is the same here, it's even more difficult here. We are doing this already. You are doing that now. Yes. So you are familiar with this process. School administrations are sending teachers like this. Yes. So you are familiar with this. The next. This year has been taken further. In my country, because now we are coming into a situation where the schools themselves can start also to add salary to the teacher. School-based management. That schools are independent.
Postoji prosto politika da se škole smatraju nezavisne.
In my country we see a tendency to consider the schools as a small private enterprise.
Je vođeno kod toga da se škole smatraju kao malim preduzećima.
Government, local regional authorities, they provide a certain sum of money to the schools and then they have to administer it.
Određenu količinu novca i puštaju same škole da rukovode tim.
But of course we have regulations for that.
Naravno postoje pravila.
Everybody involved in the process.
Oko kojeg su se svi dogovorili i koji su uključeni u proces.
Big independency of the schools today.
Tako da su škole u velikoj meri nezavisne.
And it means that in such a process, it is very important that the trade union
to znači da je u takvom procesu veoma važno
is active at the regional
da je
level,
sindikat aktivan na lokalnom
regional and
nivou.
local level. And in each school there is a person responsible for the cooperation between the school principal, the school board, and the trade unions. And we can't do anything as a school principal without involving
direktori škola ne mogu da urade ništa bez uključivanja sindikata.
So,
znači, prvo pitanje je, slušali smo juče i ljudi iz Slovenije i ovde postoji jedna bojazna. Mene sad interesuje Danska uređena zemlja. Da li, kad pričamo o finansiranju po glavi učenika ili po učenika, zašto prva stvar o kojoj pričamo je da treba da otpustamo prosvetne radnike, je li to pitanje loše mreže, odnosno loše organizovanja i normi u samim školama, ili je spao natalitet pa je to smanjilo potrebu za nastavnicima? S druge strane, drugo pitanje je, ovo je politička odluka. Neko mora da ponese političku odgovornost za prelazak na drugi sistem. Da li je to, pošto je kod vas, koliko ja sam upoznat, vi se finansirate negdje skoro 60-70% sa lokalnog nivoa, 24-25% sa državnog, ako dobre podatke imam. Ko je taj ko će poneti političku odgovornost? Vi ste ovde sada rekli da je to škola. Znači, škola postaje preduzeće, škola postaje neko ko je proizvođač, klasičan proizvođač, koji treba, sad, koja je tu sloboda škole, ako ona zavisi od državnog ili lokalnog budžeta? Ona ne može sama da stvori nikakva sredstva. Kako će rasporediti? I s druge strane, ključna stvar je, kako vi dolazite, kako to ranije niste dok ste se finansirali sa nivoa države, imali višak zaposlenih, a sada kad prelazimo na ovaj sistem, imamo ogroman višak zaposlenih. S druge strane, traži se određene gimnastike, kao što je u Sloveniji, da otpustamo one starije ili one sa većim koeficijentom ili platnim razredom, a da ostavljamo one koji su nam jeftiniji. Da li je to diskriminacija? Da li je to... Šta mi je tu? Šta mi uopšte s ovim sistemom hoćemo da postignemo? Da li hoćemo dostupnost obrazovanju, znači za sve, jednake uslove za sve, i drugo, hoćemo li kvalitet obrazovanja, ili ćemo se baviti gimnastikom da rasteretimo državni budžet i da prevalimo odgovornost na školu. A kvalitet u ovoj konstelaciji snaga, i ovo što sam slušao Slovenci, i što sam slušao i sada vas, znači, vi apsolutno nemate mogućnosti da sami utičete na neki viši kvalitet. Znači, mora se boriti za svaki dinar, a čim se vi borite za dinar, onda znači da se gubi kvalitet. Evo, hvala vam na odgovoru, nadam se.
Well, we have 2 days here. That's a good question. I really like that. Let me explain how I saw that when I was a school principal.
Dopustite da ja kažem kako sam ja na to gledao dok sam bio direktor.
But before I do that, I will say the only reason for having per capita financing is to ensure that you can manage the overall budget for the education.
Da se uvede per capita finansiranje da osigurate da možete da upravljate sistemom finansiranja.
It has nothing with quality.
To nema veze sa kvalitetom.
Forget about that. It's the government's or the school administration's way of managing the money.
Način da vlada upravlja svojim novcem.
And then I will jump to another answer about quality in education and how this is managed by the schools which I was responsible for. And we have been discussing that in many of the meetings I have participated in connection with my work here in Serbia.
Ja sam više puta bio uključen u rasprave na ovu temu dok sam radio ovdje u Srbiji.
And it has been my approach to the discussion about the final exam.
u vezi sa diskusijom oko završnog ispita.
Which I see as one of the indications about quality in education.
Koji ja vidim kao jedan od indikatora kvaliteta obrazovanja.
Not the only
naravno jedini
one, but one of them.
Ali jedan od indikatora.
In my school, I was responsible for the quality. Only me.
U mojoj školi ja sam bio odgovoran za kvalitet i to samo ja.
And I had a school board
ja sam imao školski odbor
I reported to.
Kojem sam podnosio izveštaje.
It was consisted of parents
koji su činili roditelji
and one representative from the local
i jedan predstavnik lokalne samouprave.
Yes, sorry, 2 students.
Da, i 2 učenika.
So every year when I got the budget,
tako da svake godine kad bih dobio budžet,
I needed to consider how can I improve the quality of my school.
Meni je bilo da razmotrim kako mogu da unapredim kvalitet škole.
And I had actually all the means available.
I ja sam imao sva dostupna sredstva da to uradim.
And you are of course thinking about what about subjects?
Vi se naravno pitate šta će biti sa predmetima.
How many can you change the curriculum?
Možete li da promenite nastavni plan i program?
Yes, I can.
Mogu.
I could change the curriculum.
Ja sam mogao to da
I did that.
I to sam i radio.
From time to time we changed the curriculum
so that we could achieve
better results.
Plan i program kako bismo postizali bolje rezultate. Ja sam to radio zajedno sa svojim nastavnicima.
This was a discussion we normally started in January, February.
Obično bismo počinjali sa tom pričom u januaru.
Until we had to submit our proposal.
I ona je trajala dok nismo morali da pošaljemo svoj predlog, što je bilo otprilike u aprilu.
I think, of course, this will influence how we compose our staff.
I naravno od toga je zavisilo i kakvo osoblje nam je potrebno.
You know very well that if I reduce the number of lessons, for example, for math,
ako smanjim, na primjer, broj časova za matematiku, to smanjuje i broj potrebnih nastavnika matematike.
So you can imagine there is, and I do not need to explain to you because you know how it influences the debate.
To znate bolje od mene kako to utiče dalje na raspravu. Ne samo na nivou škole, već i među roditeljima.
So we have this available, and we have the budget available.
Tako da je to bilo dostupno i imali smo dostupan budžet.
For the new year we get the budget.
Oko nove godine bismo dobili budžet.
October, November.
Za
in October, November the year before. So we had the
dobili bismo budžet godinu dana ranije.
So we could also start to plan where do we would want to put our money and put our priorities for the coming year.
Prioritete za narednu godinu i toga kako ćemo potrošiti budžet.
And then we have, you are talking about how do you then evaluate the quality of the
A pitanje je onda kako ćete vrednovati kvalitet škole.
This is actually self-evaluation.
To je samo vrednovanje na nivou škole.
In principle, the discussion about quality at the school level is done in the school board.
U principu se diskusija o kvalitetu škole provodi na nivou školskog odbora.
We do not have inspectors to come.
Nama ne dolaze inspektori.
Because this is not needed.
Jer to nije potrebno.
And I remember once, I think it was in 1992.
Sećam se, mislim da je bilo 92.
We had a new minister.
Kada je došao neki novi ministar.
He had been visiting the United States.
Koji je posjećivao Ameriku i Britaniju.
And he came back and introduced that it was a good idea to have a group of inspectors.
Da bi bila odlična ideja da imamo inspektore koji će da posećuju škole.
He should never have said that.
Nikad to nije trebalo da kaže.
Because the whole education system raised against him.
Jer se ceo obrazovni sistem usprotivio.
This is not a Danish tradition.
To nije danska tradicija.
We have a tradition that
mi imamo tradiciju da se diskusija o kvalitetu u mom selu.
This is a question between the manager of the school, the school principal, and the school board.
Rukovodioca škole i školskog odbora.
Izvinjam se, moram otvoriti samo još jedno pitanje. Vi samo kažete dobijamo budžet. Od koga to dobijate i kako se formira taj budžet, kad tako dobijen budžet vas tera da otpustite 5 radnika? Kako se tek tada, mislim da koji su to kriterijumi na osnovu kojih se formirao taj budžet sa kojim vi treba da raspolažete, a onda da donosite određene odluke?
Because I consider myself to be able to handle this.
Isto samo to pitanje dodatno, znači šta je to što određete su od čega zavisi, na koji način država dolazi do toga, koliko će to novca dati, koji su to parametri?
It's not the business of the government. It's not the business of the government. It's a local community. It's the regional level. The regional government who decides the budget for the school, and it is based on per capita finance.
I lokalna samouprava to radi na osnovu broja učenika.
And the government, the regional authorities expect the school principal to be able to handle that.
Očekuju od direktora da bude u stanju da to sprovede.
And if he is not good enough to do that,
on nije dovoljno dobar da to radi, onda će biti
problem. And they will look for another one.
I potražit će novo.
No doubt about that.
Izvolite.
Malo pitanje. Pošto direktor ima veliko ovlašćenje, uzima sudbine ljudi u svoje ruke. Ko bira direktora i kako dolazi direktor na mesto direktora?
Roditelji.
Lokalna zajednica ili roditelji škola?
A ko bi drugi trebalo to da radi?
Ne znam.
Ministarstvo.
Nas postavlja ministarstvo.
What do they do about that?
Ali oni ne znaju ništa o tome.
Does it mean that yes, I think that you have a problem.
Mislim da imate problem ovde. Znam to.
I just want to wish you good luck with it.
I želeo bih da vam poželim sreću.
I think it is a task for the trade unions.
Ali rekao bih da je to zadatak sindikata da budu veoma uključeni u ovo pitanje.
Because you cannot be managed by people who doesn't know what they're doing.
Vi ne možete, vama ne mogu da rukovode ljudi koji ne znaju šta rade.
To je naša realnost.
Nas najbolji.
Imali smo i tamo, prosite.
Ja sam hteo dvojac. Vi ste, gospodine Slavka, ja se nadam razumeli sa ove strane tehničke, bukvalno ekonomske. I ona je bitna, strašno bitna. Ali je bitno nešto ste pomenuli, posmatram vas kao direktora. Vi imate sindikat u školi, imate školski odbor, imate poslovodstvo. Govorili ste o osobi koja je zadužena za koordinaciju, ako se dobro razumelo. Ta osoba zadužena za koordinaciju, u kojoj mogućnosti je da utiče, ako sindikati budu kompletno protiv stava poslovodstva. Kako se to prenese? Kakva je kontrola nad vama? Vi pravite pogrešne, izvinjavam se, odluke, usmeravate školu u onom smeru gdje ste ekonomski vidjeli interes. Ne interesuju vas zaposleni. Vi pravite prema željama roditelja određene smernice i tako dalje. Ko je kontrola u čitavoj priči? Sindikat je nemoćan, vi ste ga potopili. Ko je tu sad da reaguje? Kakva je mogućnost? Školski odbor je na vašoj strani, specijalne okolnosti, lokaliteta, lokalne samouprave i tako dalje. Ko je nad vama kontrola ako pogrešno radite, a ne može sindikat da vam zaustavi vaše pogrešne poteze?
Good question.
Dobro pitanje, još jedno pitanje.
If I have my regulations, everybody knows the regulation for a school principal.
I svi znaju pravila za direktore škole.
it's very easy to see if I do not follow the
veoma je lako da se vidi ako
the
ja ne pratim
cooperation
procedure.
between the teachers
Saradnja
and the school management
nastavnika i vodstva škole, na nivou škole,
is very well regulated.
je veoma dobro
I
regulisano.
have obligations to consult with the school, with the teachers.
Ja imam obavezu da se konsultujem s nastavnicima.
I have to bring reports to
Moram da podnosim izveštaje
the board and
školskom odboru
the representatives from the teachers
i
from the trade union
predstavnicima nastavnika
is
i
also a member
sindikata
of the school board.
koji su također članovi školskog odbora.
I forgot to say that.
Ne znam da li sam to pomenuo.
This is even regulated
Ali to je
in the law,
regulisano.
in the legal basis for
To
our
je pravo
cooperation.
regulisano kao osnova za našu
And
stranu.
it happens quite often
I to se sad često
that
dešava.
there are disagreements between the
Da
trade
postoje
unions
neslaganja
and the school
među
management,
sindikatima i rukovodstvom škole.
especially when it comes to issues like the capital financing,
Posebno
where
kad
the
je u pitanju,
consequences
na primjer,
needs to
kapital finansiranje,
be carried out.
kada posljedice moraju da se sprovedu.
And for example, also when we give priorities
I također kad se određuju
for how to
prioriteti,
spend the money and go to the
Našto
school
novac da
board
se
and say
potroši.
this is the way we are presenting, we want to spend the money the next year, there are disagreements about
veoma
that.
često postoje
No doubt.
neslaganja po tom pitanju.
And that's why the representative from the trade union is protected
I
when it
zato
comes
je
to
predstavnik sindikata
being released from
zaštićen.
positions. We cannot fire a
I
representative
mi ne možemo da otpustimo predstavnika sindikata.
unless he or she breaks the rules,
Osim ako oni prekrše pravi
criminal act or something like that. But we're not talking
kriminalnim
about
delima i
that.
tako dalje, ali dobro govorimo o tome.
The representative is protected.
Tako da je predstavnik sindikata je u tom smislu zaštićen.
And even when it comes to moving teachers, we cannot move the representative to another school.
Ne može biti predstavnik sindikata taj koji se prebacuje iz škole u školu.
I had in one school, in the big school I was in, I had a terrible woman
U jednoj školi u kojoj sam radio,
to be a
u kojoj sam
representative
bio
from the trade
direktor,
union.
imao sam jednu groznu ženu
And
koja je
it
bila
was a
predstavnik
complicated
sindikata.
time.
To je bilo stvarno teško vreme.
It was a woman.
I bila je još žena.
And she was very enthusiastic.
Ona je bila veoma entuzijastična.
And I really had problems.
I stvarno sam imao problema sa njom. Moram da kažem.
Zašto? Ali to je
Because she was right. Because she was right. She was right in what she complained about.
Jer je bila u pravu kad se žalila.
Because when you are going to replace or to remove five teachers
Kada
from
treba
the
da
school,
otpustite 5 nastavnika iz škole,
there are different points of view in this.
postoje različiti pogledi na
It is
to.
not easy to handle
Nije
as a
lako
manager here.
da se to uradi za
And there
jednu
are always
godinu.
disagreements, and you can sometimes make wrong decisions.
I uvijek postoje neslaganje i ponekad možete da donesete loše odluke.
But in 95% of my cooperation with the trade unions, it went always very well
95% moje
because they
saradnje,
were very
moje saradnje sa
supportive.
sindikatima, sve je
But when it
prolazilo
comes
kako
to
treba.
personal issues here, then it's
Ali
difficult.
kad su lična pitanja uključena, ovde je teško.
And we cannot always agree about everything.
I ne možemo uvijek da se složimo oko svega.
And there are also other things, situations, for example, of handling different issues internally at the school.
I postoji i druga
Where the
pitanja
trade
kada
unions have a
je
role.
rešavanje problema gde su sindikati uključeni.
And we have a problem there also to agree and disagree when we go to the school board.
Izvolite.
Mislim da su razlike u mentalitetu i tradiciji toliko velike da mislim da nema smisla da nastavljamo u ovom smeru. Ja bih postavio dva pitanja. Pošto je gospodin imao iskustvo ovde sa našim prosvetnim sistemom, koje je on najveće probleme uočio u našem prosvetnom sistemu, sistemu obrazovanja? I drugo pitanje je šta nam on savete kako bismo mogli da te probleme nekako rešavamo?
Yes, let me take this to the next step in what I would like to say to you here. I have been involved in the discussion about quality of education.
Ja sam bio uključen u rasprave o kvalitetu obrazovnog sistema.
And it was mainly focused on assessment
I
and
oni su se
on
glavnom ticali ocjenjivanja i završnog ispita na kraju osnovnog i srednjeg obrazovanja.
It's difficult to say what the biggest problem is.
Teško je reći šta je najveći problem.
What I have seen here is that you have a lot of good teachers.
To što sam ja vidio ovde je da vi imate mnoge dobre nastavnike.
There are enthusiastic teachers and there are good school principals also around.
Postoje dobri direktori škole i nastavnici puni entuzijazma.
I have seen many good schools.
I vidio sam mnogo dobrih škola.
And I have also seen that there are tendencies to support the schools with resources.
I takođe sam vidio da postoje tendencije da se škole podrže
to evaluate the quality of the teaching process.
Resursima tako da se vrednuje kvalitet nastavnog procesa.
So that you have an idea about what learning outcomes are we actually getting out of the...
Tako da može da se vidi koji su ishodi učenja koji dolaze iz ovakvog.
If you're asking about what I see as the biggest problem, then it is a question about
ali ako me pitate za najveći problem,
using the internal capacity you have available in Serbia.
Postojećih kapaciteta.
It is not, see from what I have seen, not well organized.
Kako ja to vidim, korišćenje ovih kapaciteta nije dobro organizovano.
How to use the very good schools you have here.
Kako da se iskoriste dobre škole koje imate.
You are often looking outside
često gledate napolje
for improvement, for new ideas.
Da biste dobili nove ideje za unapređivanje.
But when I come around here and visit schools,
ja kad idem po školama,
then I see the same, more or less, pedagogical situation as I see in my own country.
Sličnu pedagošku situaciju kakvu vidim u svojoj zemlji.
But there is not much communication between the schools.
Među školama.
There is not much organized exchange of experiences.
Dobro organizovana razmjena iskustava.
This, I don't know why it's like that.
Ne znam zašto je tako.
Maybe because there are so many other problematic issues to be solved.
Možda zato što postoji još toliko puno problema koji treba da budu rešeni.
I have even at the level of regional school administration seen very good administration and good tendency to talk together. But this process of using available good schools in your country is not organized.
Taj proces nije organizovan.
I know that the Institute for Evaluation, Quality and Evaluation is doing a good job to start this process.
Radi na tome da
I
započne
think
taj
that you
proces.
all maybe have been involved in this.
I moguće je da ste vi već bili uključeni.
What is it called? This external evaluation.
Yes, external evaluation.
Yes, you are all familiar with that. I am quite sure that you are not, you consider this to be difficult process.
Prilično sam siguran da vi mislite
And
da je ovo težak
I'm not sure that
proces.
you all think you like it.
I verovatno vam se ne sviđa to, bar ne
Because
svima.
I have a feeling that you think they are coming and wanting to give us marks now.
Oni sada dolaze, sad će nam da
If we are not good enough, we will be punished.
I bit ćemo kažnjeni ako nismo dovoljno dobri.
This was actually what happened in my country when they
Tako se
introduced
to
it.
barem desilo u Danskoj kada je to uvedeno.
But I hope and I think that in a few years'
ja se
time
nadam i
you will
mislim
learn that
da ćete
they
za
are giving
nekoliko
advice
godina
instead of criticism.
naučiti da oni daju savete, a ne
This
kritike.
is at least I was not right. See, from my point of view, this process of external
S moje tačke
evaluation
gledišta, ovaj proces eksterne evaluacije
is about guiding you.
u njemu se radi o tome da vi budete vođeni.
It's about giving you resources.
I da dobijete resurse.
It is about planning, training of teachers, because if you have problems, you need to be trained.
I da se stvari planiraju i da se nastavnici obučavaju, jer ako imate probleme, treba vam i obuka.
So, if this is not happening,
Ako
it is
to nije
needed to be
slučaj,
discussed.
O tome treba da se razgovara.
And again here you have your organization.
I opet vi imate vašu organizaciju koja može to da uradi, koja može da pokrene ovo pitanje.
If it doesn't work, then you need to discuss it.
Jer ako to ne funkcioniše, onda o tome treba da se razgovara.
It leads a little bit to another part of what I want to say.
I to me vodi do nečeg drugog što sam hteo da kažem.
I have not talked many times during my 3.5 years here with the Minister of Education.
Nisam mnogo razgovarao sa ministrom prosvete tokom moje 3 godine u Srbiji.
I have had 3 or 4 meetings.
Mislim da sam imao 3 sastanka.
Wednesday last week.
Do srede prošle nedelje.
Then I got a message on my computer saying the minister wants to see you.
Poruku, ministar hoće da te vidi, odmah.
And he thought, I don't think the media is here today.
Mislim da mediji nisu tu danas, jel? Nisu.
Good.
Dobro.
No, but this is because I am not here as a team leader.
Jer ja ovde nisam u svojstvu team lidera projekta.
I can easily report what I'm saying here, but I don't want to be misunderstood.
Tako da meni nije problem da ovo kažem, ali ne bih želeo da me pogrešno razumiju.
But there was a new minister.
Ali došao je novi ministar.
And he has obviously a problem with the final exam next year with the composite test.
On očigledno ima problem sa završnim ispitom sledeće godine i kompozitnim testom.
And he said, I need help.
On je rekao da mu je potrebna pomoć.
Advice on what to do.
I savjet o tome šta da se uradi.
I said to him, you need to have consensus about what you will do now, from now on, and until next year.
Od sada do sledeće godine.
And one of the main players in this process is the trade unions.
I jedan od ključnih igrača u ovom procesu je sindikat, odnosno sindikat.
Like it or not,
svidelo se to vama ili ne.
But you need to talk with them and you need to get their support for what you are doing.
I da dobijete podršku od njih za to što radite.
I also said to him, it is not a question about this process, this opposition about the composite test. It's not about the composite test. It's about something else.
Tu zbog samog kompozitnog testa, nego zbog nečeg drugog.
Because there are parents out there and there are probably also people around in the education system
postoje roditelji i takođe i drugi ljudi
who do not
u obrazovnom
like the ministry,
koji ne vole ministarstvo,
especially the minister.
Posebno ministra.
So you need to ensure that you are doing what you are saying.
Tako da morate da osigurate da radite to što govorite.
And if you can convince the teachers
I ako možete da
that you are
ubedite
doing that,
nastavnike da ćete to raditi,
including other stakeholders also,
uključujući naravno i druge interesne grupe,
then you have a chance to survive.
Onda imate priliku da preživite.
Otherwise it can only be worse.
Jer inače može da bude samo još gore.
This was what I said to him.
To sam mu rekao.
He said, yes, I will do that.
On mi je rekao da će to uraditi.
I mentioned especially Matthews.
I ja sam pomenuo posebno Matthewića.
Invite him.
Rekao sam, pozovite ga.
And I'm very happy to know that he did it.
I drago mi je što sam saznala da vas je i pozvao na sastanak juče.
I will see him again on Tuesday.
Ja ću se ponovo sastati s njim u utorak i ponovit ću to što sam rekao.
Then you will go wrong.
Ako to ne uradite, stvari će poći na ovo.
It leads to the next thing I want to say.
Što vodi do sledeće stvari koje hoću da kažem, i to je isto kao kad je reč o per capita finansiranju.
If the ministry does not invite you and include you in this process,
ako vas ministarstvo ne poziva i ne uključuje u ovaj proces, oni će samo imati probleme.
And there is no doubt in my mind that it can only go wrong.
Ja ne sumnjam da će ovo poći naopako ako se ljudi ne
uključuju. But I will also turn it around and say,
ali bih rekao to i sa druge strane.
The trade unions here need to be active and be involved in it. And if you are not involved, you need to get involved and request to be involved.
I ako niste uključeni, vi morate da zahtevate da budete.
Because it is your members.
Jer se radi o vašim članovima.
And the consequences for your members are too big just to leave it because the ministry doesn't want.
Da bi se to pitanje samo ostavilo tako zato što ministarstvo ne želi.
And there is another thing here. It's not, you can't win.
I još jedna stvar, vi ne možete da pobedite.
You can't win this alone. I
mean, ne možete sami da pobedite i nećete dobiti to što želite.
You will, if you are not involved in the process, and I mean stepping into it on purpose.
Ali ako ne budete uključeni u ovaj proces,
then you will be losing what is going to happen, but I'm quite sure you know that.
onda ćete izgubiti, ali to vi već znate.
So, if the minister now wants to talk,
tako da, ako ministar sada želi da razgovara i da sluša,
then he has a chance.
Onda će imati šansu.
And I think you should take the chance to get involved.
I mislim da vi treba da iskoristite tu šansu, da se uključite i date doprinos ovom procesu.
And this is much more also, because this also influences the curriculum debate in this country.
Jer ovo takođe utiče i na raspravu o nastavnom planu i programu.
And also the financing of the schools and
I takođe finansiranje škola i sva druga pitanja.
Because you need to have regulations in place if they are going to
jer vi morate uspostaviti neke procedure ako će se biti uvedeno per capita finansiranje i te procedure treba da budu ustanovljene pre nego što se promeni sistem finansiranja. Ali, ne znam, je to već odlučeno?
Zakon je donet od sledeće godine.
Razlika između njih i nas je što mi za 4 stavljamo se te podijelo akcijom za to.
U tom zakonu piše.
Kad bi mi imali možda se da bi moćno drugačije imali svako da bi ovako imaš.
Tako da postoji vremena
da se možeš pogledati.
This is where I think that you could be very proactive and say, okay, we know this is coming.
Znamo da ovo dolazi, želeli bismo da razgovaramo o tome sa vama.
And maybe I also wanted to ask you,
takođe sam želela da vas pitam,
do you have any contacts to trade unions in other countries about this?
Ste vi u kontaktu sa drugim sindikatima iz drugih zemalja kad je u pitanju ovo? Malo sa Švedish. A little bit with the Swedish.
Good. Okay. Yeah, they are quite
oni imaju dosta iskustva s tim.
Okay. But if you come up with...
Videli smo se jedan put, ali nismo razgovarali da, u stvari nemamo mitu iluziju. Nas je ministar prosvete, kad smo bili kod njega na razgovoru, zamolio da mu pomognemo da taj način finansiranja per capita ne ide sledeći godin. Da ne ide nikad, to je njegova ideja. I mi smo mu rekli da je to i naša zamisao, da u ovoj situaciji to nije dobro, je lako, i da smo mi organizovali seminar na tu temu i on kaže baš bi voleo da dođe na taj seminar i zato smo ga gostali. Dakle, isto mislimo u ovom slučaju toga.
I have a feeling that this year is not coming from the Ministry of Education, it is coming from the Ministry of Finance.
Ali pretpostavljam da ovo ne dolazi iz Ministarstva prosvete, nego iz Ministarstva financija.
We can like it or not, it will be implemented.
Ali svidelo se to nama ili ne, to će biti sprovedeno.
And that's why it's important that you get on board.
I zato je važno da budete uključeni što pre i da utičete na to.
Ministar je obećao.
Ministar je obećao.
He can't. I don't think so ever. Okay, I will finish my part now.
Ja bih završio sada moj deo.
Thank you very much for listening. It's been a pleasure to be here.
And
should I have any opportunity in the future to support you,
I ako budem imao prilike da vam pružim podršku, meni će biti zadovoljstvo.
My last comment here regarding the trade union cooperation international.
Moj posljednji komentar vezano za međunarodnu saradnju sa sindikatima.
Please feel free to send me an email.
Ako vam je potrebna informacija, pošaljite mi slobodno mail.
I will do my best to get in contact with you. My son is working with the representative of the trade union.
Moj sin radi sa predstavnicima sindikata sada.
I wish you good luck.
Želim vam puno sreće u vašem radu.